Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you're ready to get your socks blown off. We have some exciting things to show you. We're going to talk about how you can boost your retail sales and conversations with application integration. So let's jump in. I'm Scott Holland, Product Manager for Application Integration at Google Cloud. And I'm joined today by Valentina, one of our customer engineers, and by Matt, who comes from a partner named Worsta. So he's going to share an interesting demo. Valentina's got a couple of demos lined up. So I'm going to try to get through my slides quickly so we can get to the fun part and you can see the product. So how is retail evolving with the infusion of generative AI? Retail is having to do some amazing new things. You need to be able to do things like generate images, generate content for your products, all using Gen AI now, right? You need to be able to create conversational commerce experiences using chat, for example, right in your e-commerce store so that people can get their questions answered. And you can use AI now to get that assisted experience. By automating operations and making improvements to operations, you can answer relevant questions to edge case type inquiries from customers. So there's a lot of change going on in retail, and you need to be ready to make that leap into the AI world. But there's still some barriers that are slowing down these meaningful changes in retail. Consumers expect more from AI to assist them. They're going to ask questions like, why aren't they using AI to answer my question? Or why aren't they using AI to give me better recommended products that go with this, right? They're going to expect that because that's what they're seeing on other retail websites. Retail enterprises are going to struggle with integrating AI into their processes and how to use AI to best give that customer experience that they want to use. So this leads to the problem. You see all these dots on this screen. We're finding through our research that customers have over 500 applications that they need to integrate, that need to talk to each other in order to create all of the different automations that they need for their business processes to run. A lot of times there's manual tasks to bridge these gaps. You have people that are maybe uploading files to a FTP server, downloading CSVs from ERP systems, right, all manually. And this causes delays, and it also causes problems when that person leaves or goes on vacation, right? So now you've got gaps in your process. There's continuous integration requests coming into the central IT team, which causes bottlenecks. So some of those critical automations that need to be done to relieve this manual work are delayed. And then AI and competitive advantage ends up on the sidelines because not everything's not connected. So the missing link to solve this problem is connectivity and automation. So connectivity is needed in order to be able to talk to all these systems of record. Intelligent information and actions are delivered at the right place, the right time, and automatically. This is how you can solve this problem. So we like to propose a platform approach. We can take our application integration product from GCP and put it in the middle here between all your applications. And then you can do things like build with clicks. And we're going to show you soon how you can build with AI as well. You can have connectors. So you have these out-of-the-box connectors, which you just configure so that you get connectivity to your applications. You can automate your SaaS workflows and scale at your own pace. This is built on Google Cloud infrastructure, and it can scale to your needs, right, at planet scale. So the process to achieve this level of automation looks like this. We start with the bottom. We have Google infrastructure, tooling, and the whole ecosystem of Google Cloud. This product is built on the same infrastructure as Gmail, Maps, Workspace, and other billion user products by Google. So we're confident we can scale to your requirements. And then you connect both within Google to Google services and then with third-party applications using our connectors. And then you can build these automation flows And this is where we're going to show you you can either do it with clicks or with AI, and you can actually combine the two as well. And then integrate these AI flows, integrate AI into your automations. So you can actually make your automations more intelligent by making callouts to AI in order to enrich the data and the experience. So connect within or beyond Google. This is just a sample of some of the logos of the connectors that we provide in the platform. You can see that we have everything from technical connectors like FTP and email, and file connectors like Box, all the way up to ERP connectors like SAP, CRM with Salesforce and HubSpot, and many, many others. You can also connect to Google Cloud applications. You can see that there is a variety of Google connectors here. We also have a Vertex AI connector that we'll talk about a little bit later as well. So we can build automation flows with clicks or natural language. And this is where I invite Valentina up. Valentina is going to share the next set of slides and show us a demo as well. Welcome, Valentina.
Hi, everyone. So now that you've seen what application integration is, what about building some integration? I'd like to show you today here how it is to actually jumpstart very easily and create an integration. And I'd like to do that from a perspective of a small retail business. Now, their current process doesn't look that great. They rely a lot on manual process. They get orders through email. A human being is actually then updating this data into the ERP system, and they rely on handwritten work to send this order to the production facility. They'd like to move to a scenario where most of those tasks, if not all of them, are automated. So whenever an order is created in their e-commerce, this data should flow through their systems that are actually in use in their organization. Now, this is how the flow would look like by creating such an automation with application integration. I'd like to focus on the left-hand side here. So we can actually see all the team involved in this company and the tools they use. So we see the ops team, of course, is using their ERP. In this case, it's a kind of legacy one, but it offers a REST endpoint. So we can actually use a REST task in application integration. The BI team is actually getting data from a BigQuery instance. The finance team relies a lot on Google Sheets. So we need to make sure this data is there as well. The production facility, they just need to get notified of orders. An email can do the job in this case. So looking now at the beginning, the whole flow, the automation will look this way. Like whenever an order is created in their e-commerce, this integration will be triggered through an API. So the data coming from this order will actually be mapped, processed, and distributed in real time across all the services that this company is using. Now, this looks a bit complex for a small company, looks like a lot of work. Imagine they have no knowledge of our product, of integration. But you know what? That's not really the case. We live in the AI era, and I'm pleased to announce that we are releasing in public preview soon Gemini Code Assist for application integration. This means that you can easily create an integration by just using natural language. And let's actually have a look at this and see how this can be done. All right. So here I am creating my integration. And just one second. It's not stopping. Anyway, so I have no idea what to do. So I just ask for help. I will enter here my prompt. I have some templates as well, but I know exactly what I want. So I just give the prompt. So whenever an order is received, get this data, send it to the ERP, and send an email. Now, Gemini will process this prompt and come back to me with two options I have here. So not only I have the draft of the integration, but I also have a description of the flow. So I know exactly what's going on here. I like the first option. So I give it a name, I confirm, and in this moment, Gemini is actually creating the integration for me. And there it is. It's created, so all the building blocks are there. And besides that, I'd like to also focus on the variables there. They were also automatically created for us. I didn't do anything. No line of code has been written here. Now, this looks a bit simple. If you remember what we discussed before, we need to take care also of the BI team and the finance team. So Gemini can help in this case, not only to create, but also to actually enhance automation. So we can actually use Gemini to create a branch. So we are just telling Gemini, hey, I need to also add some row in Google Sheet. And there it is. It will create a branch for us. We are still missing out something. Yes, it's the BI team, right? So we need to make sure this data is also going to BigQuery. Once again, Gemini can help us. So I will just, with another prompt, tell Gemini, hey, I need to add the order data in a BigQuery instance. So hit create, and Gemini will add a branch to my integration. Now, this is the full integration we discussed before. That was very quick. But Gemini can actually provide additional help in configuring this integration. So if I click, for instance, in the BigQuery task, in a while, yes, right now, so we can actually use Gemini to get some help. Gemini has context of our infrastructure, so it sees we have a data set in BigQuery, and we have an order table. So it's actually telling us to actually configure this task, to write the order in that data set that is actually used by the BI team. All of this is done for me, and if you notice, the input variable has been created as well. That's exactly the schema that the BigQuery used by the BI team is in place. Once again, this was all done automatically. No code has been written, and this was less than 3 minutes. So in less than 3 minutes, we created this business flow for this company. So we have now our integration. And Scott was mentioning before the importance of using AI in our business processes. And once again, I'd like to show as well how easy it is to actually quickly add AI into our flows. With no AI expertise, I don't need to know how those services work. So application integration comes with out-of-the-box connectors and tasks directly connecting with our AI services. We have services like document and text translation, processing. We also have sentiment analysis, as well as the prediction task from our AI platform. Now, going back to our small retailer. So this retailer, now they have an amazing process to get orders and have data in place. So what about the scenario where this business is growing, they're expanding into new markets, so this means they will get user-entered notes in different languages, while the production department needs to get this data, but in a language they understand, so English. So how can we just change and update the flow we have seen before by making sure this gets done very quickly? So this is the flow we created before. So we have our tasks. We get the data. We extract the data. We send it to the ERP. We add a sheet in Google. And we create the orders in BigQuery. You will see there is now a condition I added. So before actually sending the email, I put a condition on the language I get as an input. So if the language is not English, what I'll do, by just adding a task, I will call the Google Translate API. This text will be processed in real time. I will create the body for my email, and I will send it. All this just using this drag and drop UI. Now, before running, this is the BigQuery instance that the BI team is using. Now, running the query, we can see, as of now, there is no data. And this is the sheets that the other team is using. Let's actually run this integration. So if we test it, we see the JSON payload that we get from the e-commerce. And we can actually see, in this case, the customer is entering data in Italian. So once we run this integration, first thing, we are getting straight away the email. So this was in real time. And once we run an integration, we can actually expand on the process. And we can go and check the logs and the variables and what was going on at each and every step. Like in this case, we can see the output we got from the AI task, the translation. So we get the translated text, but we also, the task was able to figure out what language was given as an input. If we go now and check the email we got, so this is the actual email that was received by the production facility. So first of all, as you were seeing just before, 0 minutes ago, so this happened in real time. No more delay by manual intervention and manual work. And also, we have the notes from the customer. This is all in English. So in real time, we got an order. And if we look again at the input we received, this order was given with some notes in another language. So in real time, we got this order, we processed it, and we sent an email translated. If we go and check now the BigQuery, we can see the order was added. So there it is. And if we check the sheets, we can also see data is there. So our finance team now is happy. They have the files, and they can see all the data in real time. So lastly, just to show you another amazing functionality from Gemini. So besides creating and configuring the integration, we can actually use it to actually write descriptions. Nobody likes documentation. But in this case, with one click, we can have Gemini doing it for us. So in this case, not only gave us a nice overview, but also there is a full list of each step. So for anyone coming next and working on maybe changing this integration, they can actually see each step, what's going on, and why they are there. So this actually is showing how quick it is to just build a business process within a company and using AI inside of it. Now, I'd like to actually welcome Matt here, who's going to show additional use cases on how application integration can actually help retail business.
Thank you, Valentina. Just as Scott mentioned, my name's Matt. I'm a senior solutions architect at Worsta. I also lead our AI-focused workshops, so if that's something you're interested in, come see me afterwards. We've all got our red jackets on. We're hard to miss. Let me show you what I built here. So I took an e-commerce store, and I'm taking the product catalog, and I'm using application integration to move and transform that product catalog into a schema suitable for search for retail. I then have another integration that's interacting between search for retail and the Shopify store. And you might be thinking, search for retail. I thought I came in for application integration talk. So what is search for retail? It's a great place for you to be able to build models for special recommendations in search that you can serve up to your customers on your store. It also has the ability for monitoring and analytics. Altogether, I have 3 integrations. I have one coming from Shopify that grabs the product data and it's transforming it into the schema. And then I have another one here that iterates that data into BigQuery. Ultimately, everything goes into Vertex Search for Retail. I then have an integration that communicates between Shopify and Search for Retail. So I'm about to show you a video, and I'm going to create 3 things. I'm going to create a serving config that's going to serve up similar items to the end user. I'm going to create a control that's going to highlight a specific brand so that whenever a user searches for something, it actually brings that brand up to the top of the search. And then I'm also going to show you how to evaluate these models inside of Search for Retail and integrate it into the Shopify store. Let's see. I'm going to make sure I can pause this before I start it here. There we go, great. So first things first, I'm starting out in Search for Retail, and I'm going to import my data. And you can see here that it actually gives me a couple different options. I've got Merchant Center, I've got Google Cloud Storage, and BigQuery. And as I mentioned earlier, I imported all my data into BigQuery, so we're going to select that. And I'm going to select branch 0, which is the one that I'm currently working off of. And then you're able to see that I already have a table set up where all that data went into, and it's called retail. I have a couple other tables underneath it, and that's going to be the user experience coming from Google Analytics to help make those recommendations. Cool. I'm going to hit import. And you can see actually behind this screen that it gave me a little piece of code to run a cron job. And then there's my 1,500 products successfully imported. So now I'm creating that serving config, and I want to show similar items. And I'm naming it similar items. And here in a second, you'll see that I am selecting the model that Search for Retail already created for me, called similar items. And there's a couple other default configurations you can add. And it's honestly as easy as that. You just hit create. So now you can see, by importing that product information, it created a model, and it's using the product IDs to associate similar items. So I can use this serving config on something like a product detail page, so that whenever I go to that page, it shows similar items. The next thing I'm going to do is create a serving control. And so, like I'd also mentioned, a serving control gives you a couple different options. The one that we're going to do is for our fictitious company called Vintage Peak. So say, for example, you have a coffee store. That's what this e-commerce store is. And you have a company that wants to do a campaign with you, and they want to highlight specific products on your store so that whenever customers go there, those are the ones that rise to the top. So I'm going to name this one Vintage Peak Campaign. And I'm going to select Search. You can also do recommendation if you want to make a control for recommendation. And here, you have a couple different options. You've got Boost/Berry, filter controls, and redirect. In this case, I'm going to select Boost/Berry. And the great thing about this is, just as the name implies, if there were a couple of companies that I didn't want to highlight on search, I can pretty much do the inverse of what I'm doing right here and have those show up further down on the search list. This is where I'm going to add a couple different triggers, or keywords in this case. So anytime somebody searches for coffee, maker, grinder, beans, and then exact search terms, so if somebody searches for these exact words, this is going to trigger our serving control. Add one more in there, French press. Perfect. And so you can see here, I'm going to select brands. Yep. And then I'm going to put Vintage Peak. So that anytime somebody searches for Vintage Peak, this trigger is going to happen. And just to make it a point, I'm going to ramp it all the way up just so that they show up at the very top. And then I'm going to apply it to the default search. So that's the main search that whenever people come search on your website. And hit OK and submit. So after this, we're going to go ahead and evaluate what that looks like. And that's the last step there about evaluation, where I have a built-in tool where I can go in and see how my model's doing. And you can see here that now that when I search for beans, Vintage Peak is the top search that comes. Same thing with makers. Cool. So before I move on, the way I actually integrated this was I took all of the API calls that I was creating and I put it into a script tag so that everything was super clean. And then that script tag is going into the custom code section for my Shopify store. And I made it to where all I have to do is add this custom element, and then I have access to that search box. So this is my Bark and Brew coffee shop, my fictitious coffee shop store that I created. And you can see at the top here that I've got that little magnifying glass. And as soon as I click that button, everything from then on is actually coming from Search for Retail. So now I click that, I've got access to my search, And there's all those search queries that I'm able to access, coffee grinders, coffee beans. And then whenever I click on one of these, at the bottom of the screen, you're able to see that serving config that I created earlier for similar items. So now what this is doing is it's taking the product ID, it's making an API call to search for retail, all through application integration, and then returning my similar items. And that is it.